Hey
Hangout is now
everybody.
live. Hello. Good morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever. This is episode 257 of OotiniCast. This is our live recording, and this is the version I don't edit, because I don't do video editing. That's more for people like Sweaterista. And yeah, so this is published as an audio podcast, downloaded as an MP3. So please accept any flubs or whatever that we do in the live version. Now, we were just talking about Sweaterista has been ill with just a cold, and
Hip
I was just
sniffles.
the sniffles. And I asked whether it sounded pretty bad for a while, so it sounded like a man cold. At which point they both assured me this was an Australian concept, a man cold. So the idea is that a man cold is a cold that when a guy gets it, it's really bad. Well, at least as far as a guy is concerned. So, yeah, it's a
Does
bit
that
of a
mean
joke.
that the guys are hypersensitive, or that this is like a macho cold?
No, it just means the guys just make a big deal out of it.
I see.
Oh,
Whereas
hypochondriac cold.
A woman
There you
will
go.
just roll with it and like, what's the big deal? Yeah, so maybe that's not very gender diversity friendly, but yes.
That's pretty amusing, especially here we usually make fun of girls more for being, oh, I'm dying. I'm so sick.
Interesting. Maybe it's just an Australian phenomenon.
No, I'm with you too. Jen was always the one who like kind of toughed through a cold, and I was the one who was like, "Oh man, I feel bad. Can't go to work."
There's actually an article on WebMD, the man cold. Why men react differently to colds.
It's an actual thing, okay? I can't say you made it up anymore.
Yeah,
No,
not
no,
even
no.
on
This is a
and on
well-known
WebMD,
phenomenon.
not even Urban Dictionary, huh?
Yeah.
It's
'Cause it could
official.
have been published on April 1st, but maybe. No, it seems official enough. There you go. All right, something to research later. And of course, we're here to talk about Star Wars here in public, not man colds. So let me
Rectal
tweet
disease.
out. I'm sure we could put a Star Wars spin on it if we wanted to.
Is that just okay? A couple people are saying no sound from you, Tio, although they can
Oh.
hear us. I can hear you fine, obviously.
Oh
can
no!
hear you, Tia.
Oh, my whole story went. Oh, well, it'll be on the
Kerfuffle.
YouTube version. Oh yeah. Mm,
Are you putting out like from a different feed or something?
No, the problem.
Oh,
I better check
Dekian
this.
says I can hear you, and so can Gahar.
Yeah, it's okay via YouTube, or should be. Might have to stop the stream and restart it.
Okay.
The problem is. Yeah, it's better. That I installed a big Windows update. It looks like it just screwed up my default audio devices. Sorry.
Ah.
So, which means I really have to test that with Audacity because it's probably screwed up as well. Actually, no. Test. Hello. Yep, that's fine. All right. So stream should be good. I did have to restart it. YouTube would have been fine all along. It's just YouTube, the Twitch version, which was screwy. All right. We are streaming again. They can hear me.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Yep. Farseer, who
reading
was
that.
having problems before, says it's working now for him. So.
all right. Okay. Sounds like webcam audio. It's all right. So it was partially coming through the other device, which is my webcam, not my. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So anything you want to cover before we start? I have picked a winner for the what's it?
Okay.
I don't have anything to talk about this week, so do you want to skip me, or shall I just pass to me and I'll say I didn't do anything this week? And how about you, Joe?
No Star Wars
Uh,
for you?
No.
I can
Did
just
you-
mention that we already
did
talked
you-
it over or something.
Sorry, did you play any other games at all this week?
Yes, but I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
Well, did you
okay,
do anything
okay.
else Star Wars related?
So no.
Like, did you buy the DVD or?
I did watch The Force Awakens. When the hell did I do that? When did we do that? I can't remember.
Actually, so did I, and I finally watched the all the cut deleted scenes and so on too.
All right. Yeah, pass me. I'll just say briefly. I'm still on my holiday, but I'm looking forward to coming back, which is true.
Okay.
On 2 weeks. I may come back and forth the matter. All right, let's do this.
So you do want me to pass you, not
Yes,
not just
yes. Pass
Okay.
to me, not pass.
pass to you. Okay, not pass over you. Okay,
Correct.
that's fine. All right, so we're good to go.
We're good
I
to
am
go.
recording. Okay, so
Let's
Teresa,
go,
are you
race,
recording?
race,
I've been recording.
race.
Excellent. All right, I'll go in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that doesn't like you. I don't like you either. This is episode 257, being recorded on Wednesday, April 20th, 2016. I'm your host, Jill, with our producer and co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey guys, that was unexpected.
And our guest today is Swoterista. Swoterista, how you been? What you been up to?
Hey there, I've been pretty good, and I've done so much in SWTOR the last 2 weeks since I've been on the show. Last show I mentioned that Visions in the Dark, the newest chapter, was really starting to capture my interest, and I actually doubled down, I subscribed, and I played the last 2 chapters, the one with Kaleo, the one with Eric Jorgen, the newest one that's focused on Valkorion, I guess you could say. And the Eric Jorgen one was so wonderful, because I play a female trooper and actually did romance him, and the way they handled the homecoming of the romanceable character was absolutely fantastic. It really made me feel like it was his character and it was the trooper character, and I feel like they did such a good job with it. And it makes me sad that I think, like, what is it? There's 8 classes, 7 of them aren't troopers, and even if you were a trooper, you could have been a male character. It's like, you're missing out on so much of the extra little things. Like, for example, there's a point where Eric Jorgen and you make a last stand and you say something sarcastic like, any last words? And he says, can the garbage and I love you. And you're like, oh, trooper love at its best.
Trooper love.
I'm also really, really proud of my raiding team. We've been working on hard mode Revan in the Temple of Sacrifice operation, and it's a very difficult mechanical fight. Doesn't matter how much gear you have, you obviously need a certain amount, but every second you have to be paying attention to what's going on in the fight. And we finally made it to the next stage. We made it to the 2nd floor, we made it past HK, and it's just such a good feeling to progress. It feels so good, and I'm so proud of them for working together. In story, apart from playing the newest chapters, I also started up a bounty hunter just to see the story. I'd started it before, but I wanted to restart it so I remembered what happened. And it's really fun when you make a new character if you already have some characters and some credits built up, because you can start them off with something fun like a new outfit. And I decided for my bounty hunter to start her off with that Acklay mount, since they'd come out recently and they're not too expensive, they're affordable, and it's really fun riding around on like Hutta, where there's everyone who doesn't even have a speeder yet and you're riding around on a giant Acklay. Another story thing that I tried out was I did the whole chapters chapters 4 through 9 on another one of my characters, on a Force character this time, and I found, although choices still don't quite matter, obviously the story doesn't completely derail based on your choices. If you do some basic choices, like whether you kneel to Archon and whether you accept his help or not. Sorry, trains going by. Whether you accept his help or not, it really makes a difference, even in the cutscenes. Like, I assumed it would just be, oh, you get a special buff, now you are stronger. But no, there's actually some really nice surprises. The first time around, I completely denied his help, and the second time around, I accepted it off and on, and it was really neat to see the changes that time around.
Yeah.
There's some very large impacts on the world around you, if not necessarily your own story.
Yep. I agree. All right. And was there anything else this week?
That's it for me.
All right. Tio, how about your week?
Well, I have, as discussed last week, am continuing my little break away from Star Wars The Old Republic. I'm playing some other games just for a break, just for something different. And though Star Wars related, I did indeed watch The Force Awakens, now that it is available in pretty much every format you can imagine. I only watched the movie again. This was only the second time I've seen it. So, yes. Really enjoyed it. The scene where they catch up with Han and Chewie on that big freighter of theirs, that part drags for me. I honestly just don't for whatever reason, I just don't enjoy that part. But the rest of it is just fantastic. Very much looking forward to episode 8 next year, end of next year.
Right.
So yes, so it's really good to see that again. However, I don't have anything else to talk about in Star Wars, but who knows? I'm certainly going to be back to play chapter 14. Is it 14? What's the next one? Profit and Plunder. Is that 14? Just want to make sure. No, it's 13. I'll be back to play chapter 13 on May the 3rd. And so, yeah, very much looking forward to that and the Eternal Championship. Anyway, we've got some more information about that, which we'll talk about. But over to you, Joe.
All right. Well, first, let's do a shout out to the chat room. Let's see. We've got Begs to Differ, Bo Daddy's here, about Darth Brundlefly, Dekion, DreadX, Dragonblade 150, Drunken Darkside Podcast is here, Elion D2, Farseer, Frelendrin Fiona, Gahana, Japeo, KDR Man 34, Uppy Quite I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. Only a Wookiee, Palace, Falzon, Siskaeka, Sith Kitty, Sledgester, Soterista is here, This Man, This Monster, and Vas Mike Nope is here. Hello, everyone. And let's see. First of all, thanks to Matt Brennan for the podcast intro quote suggestion. And as far as the game goes, I got as many sort of little sessions as I could in before Friday, after the last show, because on Friday I had some minor surgery. It went well, nothing to really talk about there, but I am sort of still kind of recovering from it. I was basically in bed most of the weekend, have been going to work, but by the end of a work day, I kind of wanted to be off my feet and even off my butt, so I haven't actually played since Friday. But before that, I was working on my power tech tanking and liking the new war zones. Pretty much the same stuff that I was doing last week. Good stuff, and I can't wait to get back into it. I am starting to feel like I can probably have a nice play session probably here in the next day or two. So looking forward to that. Anyway, let's get on to the tip of the week. We've got 2 of them this week, and I'll start us off with one from Draco. Draco writes, "Today I found a small tip for those like me who haven't gone through all the characters and their vehicles. If you found yourself logging into a character, which still has your favorite vehicles in the taskbar, you can right-click on it before removing it from the taskbar, and that will make the vehicle a favorite to be brought up on the random vehicle selection." I think that was briefly mentioned a few weeks ago,
Yes,
but that's
it
kind of a good point. Is a lot of times you'll end up putting the individual vehicles on your bar. I certainly have over time.
Our second tip is from the Karch. I've had reclaimed treasure, which is a mission, bug out several times, always at the point where I've solved the puzzle, gone to the hidden area, and the next step should be to investigate the hollow and talk to the Dishade. The Dishade isn't there, and there is no next step in my mission. The fix was to reset the mission, but that's really annoying.
Yeah.
I've done this several times now, and the difference between times when it bugs and when it doesn't bug is that I went and did something else between starting and finishing the mission. I logged off, travelled to my stronghold, or did a war zone. I can't say for sure without doing it a few more times, but it seems like any of those things will cause the mission to fail to update correctly. So more or less,
Okay.
if you leave the instance, if it's in an instance, it looks like it will screw it up, though it sounds like
Okay.
maybe it's not.
Yeah,
So,
there's
yeah.
a couple of things around the game like that. For example, I went to do a Star Fortress the other day, and I started it, and then, I gotta go do something real quick, left, came back, and all of the mobs were gone in the whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, as simple as that, if you're inside an instance, chances are it's really bad idea to go and do something else that will cause you to leave that instance. And that includes doing a war zone, going back to your stronghold, even though you can just port straight back, especially if you log out. That would be... Well, that sometimes is okay, because you will come back and everything may be okay, but sometimes not. So yeah, chances are if you're doing it, you really should just progress through and get it done until you're no longer in one of your personal phase.
But if you
phased
if
area.
you actually gotta go and you can't stick around, don't worry, you'll just have to redo part of it.
That's the worst case, yeah, just having to redo that bit where you're inside the phase.
All right. Well, by random allotment, the winner is Descartes. So congratulations, Descartes. You're the winner of a Ton Fawn or M83R droid pet code, courtesy of BioWare, and a new OotiniCast-provided Cartel Market Pack from the latest shipment. And if you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Tuesday. And that'll bring us to the holo feed. Tio?
All right, firstly, is my audio any better? I did change an audio setting for those of you in the chat room.
You sound a little louder to me.
You do sound better to me, too.
Yeah, okay. It's just picking up I think it was my webcam again. All right. All right, in the news this week, from famine to feast, we got all kinds of stuff to talk about. Last week was really, really light. However, let's start with maintenance on Tuesday. They did take the servers offline. It was just a 4-hour maintenance. I think the servers were back up after 3 hours, and it was a server-side only update, so there was no client patch to download. In the patch notes, there were just some fixes for war zones. Firstly, they fixed one that caused groups to be unable to queue properly. We did talk about that last week, where if you queued as a group, it would take like a really long time to pop. So there was clearly a server-side issue with that.
Yeah, and I was in fact having an issue with that since the last podcast. I was trying to go with a guildie, and we just couldn't group it up. And it was also like you would start to queue up, and then it would kind of just fail, and the little light would go off, but it wouldn't actually pop.
Right.
Yeah.
And okay, so that should be fine. They also fixed something where if you transferred your character between servers, you wouldn't show up properly on the ranked Warzone arena leaderboards. Speaking of which, I need to update our OotiniCast ones for Season 7 now that it's live.
Yeah, that's got to be kind of a tricky thing for them to do anyway. I mean, because it's a different pool of people with each... I mean, I guess, do they just assume you have the same number when you move over? Or I wonder how that works.
Should, and as far as all of these stats go, and there is a unique ID that identifies your character in the data that you pull out of it. So regardless of what, even if you change your character's name as part of the server transfer, and obviously the server, it should all track back to something that is universally unique. But somehow that's screwed up. So, but however, that is now fixed as well. So that was that. No patch number associated with that, of course. We're still on game update 4.3. Now, I should mention the bounty contract week is going on as we speak. It will complete next Tuesday. So yeah, get in there if you want your want to progress that if you haven't already. As far as I know, they still haven't added anything new to it, and no plans to. But
I don't know when they were added, but there's definitely some new decorations there. There's like some portraits, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but there is new stuff like since it came out.
Okay, that you can purchase from the vendor.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. More reason. You do have a reason to continue doing that, even after you've got all of the achievements, etc. Now, last week we did mention that some people were reporting that in their launcher they were being offered 500 cartel coins if they resubscribe by April the 11th. And these are obviously for non-subscribers. And there was a post on the forums explaining that. This was from Eric Musco. And apparently it was part of a targeted campaign. They were kind of experimenting with this functionality. Now, as you know, the way the launcher works is you actually have to put in your username, etc., to actually get to fire up the launcher. So you log in, and then it seems that they now have the tech to target particular advertising or particular messages to a particular subset of players that they have somehow identified. For example, non-subscribers or non-subscribers who were subbed 6 months ago or something, whatever. Right. And so they were experimenting with this as a way of doing this promotion. That's why only some people got this via the launcher. So as I think I commented last week, the new revamped launcher is very cool, particularly in terms of its ability to give messaging, such as announcement of a maintenance. And yeah, so this is just another feature of it. It's very fancy and very cool.
Right.
There's so many ways that they can use this. Like the most recent one was, if you're not subscribed, here's a reason extra to subscribe. But they can also offer so many different types of targeting groups. Like, for example, have you been playing SATOR for over 600 hours? Maybe they'll give you something that would be more useful to a veteran player. Are you a brand new player? Maybe they'll give you something that's more useful to a new player, like free mount with piloting skill included free, whereas an older player might only want a cosmetic item because they've already got everything under the sun already.
And the reason they didn't advertise this openly in terms of like via Twitter or on the forums or anywhere else is because it really was only that subset of players. So
Yeah, I was one of the few. That was the one that actually pushed me to subscribe that day. I was
Oh.
still kind of waffling, and I was like, oh, this expires in a couple days. If I'm going to do it, I might as well do it now.
And it worked, at least in one instance.
It
Yeah.
was definitely nice to log in and have that extra 1,000 cartel coins, one from subbing and one from the offer. It
Yeah.
does feel kind of odd, though, knowing that I got that and other subs didn't, though.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of the trade-off.
All right, next in the news, the new 8v8 Warzone, Odessa Proving Ground, apparently has been popping quite a lot for people who queue up. And even though there was an initial change in the queuing after Game Update 4.3 went live, that was only for a couple of days until Thursday, where Odessa Proving Ground would just turn up a lot, just like it was on PTS. However, the reason it's showing up now is, as they explain, because it is the only cross-faction Warzone, which means that when they're looking for people to play it, they can pull people from both factions. So,
Right.
whereas with the rest, they are limited to having 8 players on each faction, or 8 players, 16 on the same faction. Now they can just pull them from both and make up both teams. So
It makes sense.
it's an easier set of criteria to satisfy, and they are going to work on making that better. They didn't say how, but obviously they can just put in some logic to hold off on shoving Odessa Proving Ground in as the option, as the solution for a little bit, like have a particular duration, after which if they still haven't got enough on a particular faction to make the teams, they will give you Odessa. So they could do something like that. Or they could make all of them able to be cross-faction teams. And
would be nice too.
That would be very nice, because
I'm
we
still
know they do
wondering-
simulations for faction versus same faction, so why not?
I'm wondering what their specific hang-up for that is right now, because obviously it's a good idea, because then everyone can play the Warzones. I'm wondering, is it really the lore? Is it the tech? Or is it we just don't have time for this right now?
Well, forever it was the lore. I mean, that was sort of the original
And it still
dev
is.
team's. Yeah, that was the original dev team's real drum beat. And since then, they've loosened it up quite a bit. But yeah, I think that's still sort of the underlying reason.
Now, I believe Odessa Proving Grounds continues to be 65 only, because anything else wouldn't
I've
make
heard
sense.
Oh, that's right. I never thought of that.
And
'Cause it
so
is-
cross-faction
yeah.
teams only make sense once you've got the whole alliance and we're all in bed together,
Right.
as it were.
Although you can certainly make an argument for both hutball matches as well,
That's true. Sort of, yeah.
and
Yeah.
possibly even arenas. I mean, depending on although some of the arenas are actually sort of lore-wise, they're sort of dressed up in war stuff as well. But definitely hutball could definitely be cross-faction.
Now, Place corrects us. He says Odessa is before level 65. Is it cross-faction before 65?
I would assume so, but I
Wouldn't
don't
that
know.
be confusing if you're like playing light-sided Jedi and you're like level 34 and all of a sudden you're alongside with Sith
It would.
in a Warzone?
Cause yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Actually having Odessa Proving Ground at all before 65
It's just
doesn't
a
make a
huge
lot of sense.
spoiler.
Yeah.
It's okay. Police is
And
saying it's
cross-faction for both.
yeah,
All
and
right,
even
so
10 to
everything we
40
just
bracket.
said is wrong. So really, there's absolutely no reason why they can't make all of the war zones cross-faction teams.
Lore's already broken. Break it more.
Indeed. All right, now character transfers. For the longest time, it was leading up to Knights of the Fallen Empire. Character transfers have been cheap as. They used to be 1,800 cartel coins, but they have been on special for 90 cartel coins. Initially, they said that roughly when Knights of the Fallen Empire came out, they would go back to the regular price, but they never have. Until this coming Tuesday, at which point the special will be over. However, it won't be returned to 1,800 cartel coins. It will go back. It will now be 1,000 cartel coins for character transfers.
Okay.
So, yeah, only an order of magnitude more than the current special, but better than 1800, I guess.
I'm so sad about that. Well, what I'd really like to know is what prompted the change now, because we knew a long time ago that they would be changing eventually, and we kind of assumed they'd only actually be available for like a month or two, but they were available for a very long time. What happened in the last month or so that made them change? And the other thing, I'm sad because the 90 cartel coins was definitely a fee that people were very willing to spend and hop around. And it gave people a really good chance to explore the different servers and see if they could find one they liked, and to bring all their characters over from another server at a cost that wasn't too insane if they'd already saved up some cartel coins.
Yep.
You could move 5 characters on your stipend from just being a subscriber for 1 month.
Yeah.
And I guess, I don't know, I'm hoping that most everyone who's been dealing with servers that have been declining have made their move, but it's just like, ugh, what happens afterwards? What are we doing? I don't want to go back to the way it was before when this was so fun and easy. I'm wondering if it had something to do with characters hopping around and playing the GTNs, if they didn't want that to happen anymore.
Or using it as a cheap name change, as Vasmiknope suggests.
Yeah,
That's true.
that was a tip of the week a few weeks back. Yeah.
Yeah, it's come up several times because it really
I'm
is
sorry.
an easy
We
way of
shouldn't
doing
have
it.
said anything.
Now, we also know when they were debugging the character transfer issue, last week we talked about this, that they'd offered the free transfers briefly, and certainly now that it'll be expensive again, they can probably try to rebalance the populations by offering free transfers. Now that
I
free
would
is
be-
actually meaningful compared to 90, as opposed to compared to 1,000.
I would be
Right.
very okay with that if they offer free transfers from the quiet servers to the busier ones, and then you have to pay to move from server to
Yeah.
server. I mean, it stinks for the people who are like, oh, I found out my buddy plays on Harbinger and I'm on Ebon Hawk. I want to move all my characters over, but they're a much, much smaller subset, and it's a much more, I guess, cosmetic use than the need to go to a server where there's actually people to play with.
Right.
Now, I've been thinking about whether to move a character from my 39 on the Harbinger, like at least one over to another server, and then from there go to the rest to spread my legacy.
Oh, I'm absolutely doing that.
Yeah.
You guys are on Harbinger, right? That's where
Yes.
most of the fun community events are. I'm making sure I get one of my characters over there. What is this? Ends on the 26th. That's this coming Tuesday, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So do
Yeah.
it before then. Come make a character on Harbinger.
I know.
But I'm
considering
actually
doing it
holding
too.
off on that because I'm not legacy level 50 on those other servers. I did do some free transfers when the Aussie servers shut down. I had an opportunity to move characters everywhere, and so they have the class buffs, but not much more than that, which is all I progressed at that time. But do I really want to be legacy level 50 on every server? Because if I want to play on those other servers, it kind of removes the incentive.
Right. In other words, you're
Does
saying
your-
it would already be easy mode, is what you're
Exactly.
saying.
I'd have all my account-wide unlocks. I would have legacy level 50, as I do on the Harbinger. So I'm actually may not, just because I want
Yeah.
a challenge in the future.
Not a bad idea.
And of course, if they do mega servers, at some point, they haven't
won't
said
matter.
anything about that. It won't matter. Oh, speaking of character transfers, the other point they raised was a long, long time ago, they said that moving between regions, that is between the EU and the US, which are the only regions we actually have, wasn't possible for reasons. And when pushed, it came down to what it sounded like. They didn't confirm it were some kind of legal problems. But again, we don't know. Maybe it was. They seem to make a point of it not being a technical problem, because technically it's easy. You can certainly transfer characters from EU servers onto PTS, for example, with no problem. So
Right.
it's technically easy. But there was some problem. And what they're saying now is the team is very actively investigating how we can lift this restriction, and hopefully soon. Yeah, so they are working actively to making it happen. So maybe they have found a possible way around whatever the impediment was that was stopping
I'm
the...
curious what the
between regions.
problems were, if they were like a hardware issue or a more technical issue, or if they're even something like a legal issue from
Definitely
where you
legal.
originally created them.
If it was
Yeah.
a problem technically, you wouldn't be able to transfer a character from the EU to the PTS. And
That's
that
true.
works just fine. So
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's like legal, like in the sense of it's like a privacy law for some country, or if it's more legal along the lines of they're perhaps, renting some servers for some of these other countries, and, maybe they have data,
Data retention laws.
data contracts,
Yeah.
data contracts or something that doesn't allow
Also,
it.
spending real money on cartel coins and sort of in-game purchases may have, and the value thereof, and somehow transferring those between regions. There could be some hang-up.
Yeah.
Other games, I believe, manage it just fine, so...
Yeah, exactly.
No idea. And it could be physically where they're located. There could be specific laws to the servers in the EU are in Ireland, from memory. So maybe there's something weird there.
Could be.
All right, so yeah, character transfers are getting expensive again as of Tuesday. 1,000 cartel coins, and if you're in the EU and you want to move to the US, Blacklock, then you should be able to do so sometime soon, TM. All right, next, let's talk about that exploit. Yes, there is another one in the wild. I heard hints of this over the last few days, and so we weren't going to talk about it until BioWare addressed it, which is our usual policy, but they now have. They have addressed the issue, so the exploit no longer exists. However, without going into too much detail, this is a direct quote, there was an issue tied to certain players' accounts which allowed them to very easily create large quantities of credits through the use of in-game mail and trading. We got reports over the past few days that players randomly received very large sums of credits, and this was instrumental in helping us find Isolate who had participated. So, make of that what you will. Why would people randomly send money to other people? Must be I can't even guess, something strange.
Yeah.
Now, as of this post, when this was posted in the last day or so, many of the offenders have had their accounts banned. And so, if any time since Game Update 4.3, presumably where the exploit was introduced, you received a very large and unexpected quantity of credits through in-game mail, trade, or the GTN, also saw them moving through your guild, they want you to send a private message on the official forums telling him your character name, your server, the character who sent you those credits, and the applicable guild, if any. And also, if you were the recipient of these credits, like you got them in the mail, you just opened them up and holy crap, you're now rich, just leave them alone. They are looking at ways, or they are in the process of removing all that excess currency from the economy. So unless you want to get banned or suspended or whatever, just leave it alone. They'll take care of it. So obviously they have got the tracking in place to hopefully identify all of the perpetrators and deal with them accordingly. And if you get your accounts banned as a result of this, well, sucks to be you. You really shouldn't have done this.
There
in
have
the first
been
place.
a lot of reports of people saying they were wrongly banned, and obviously if you did do this, just stay banned, don't bother. But if you did happen to accidentally get banned, there is an email you can mail and you can tell them your situation. People are saying they've gotten accidentally checked because they sent large sum of credits to someone else or to another character, or they were trading it to another character, for example, like from their character to a guild master or something like that. And I believe it's called Sator Account Disputes at sator.com, and they will review your case.
I'll include that in the show notes. Of course, if you are innocent, then by all means do everything you can to get unbanned. But yeah, if you were actually guilty, well...
There's also been people saying they've been triggered an accidental ban. Obviously, we can't confirm or deny that they're telling the truth, but that they were selling items on the GTN, and some people realized that there was someone snapping up all the very expensive items on the GTN, maybe not knowing there was unlimited credits going around, but they were selling their items their rare items for much more than they were originally worth, and they were getting bought. And so they might have also gotten triggered as looking like someone who was trying to redistribute the credits around.
Right.
Launder the credits.
Launder them, exactly. Now, Sweater Minor did tweet out. Did you put this in, Sweater, as well?
Yes.
Yeah. He said the exploit that he reported, and he reported that to BioWare when he became aware of it. He always does that, and he's really good about ensuring that BioWare is kept informed about this kind of thing. They use network interruptions to create a race condition on the server that duplicated credits. If you're a programmer, you know exactly what that means.
What's a
That's
race
really
condition?
annoying. A race condition is where... How can I put it in... It's a problem in when you're programming concurrently, where... I'm finding it hard to explain. We have to deal with it all the time. It's really annoying.
Is it
It's when
creating like a...
Two events should
creating-
happen in a certain order, but because of the timing, one can be delayed and happens before the other. And
I
one
see.
consequence of this is deadlock, where your code literally just locks up, threads just lock up, and your program is dead in the water. But another condition can be the events happen out of sequence, which means that one they thought was happening one way happened the other way, and just happened to result, in this case, in the duplication of credits.
I see.
And Sator Miner did message somewhere else, I believe, on Reddit, that this is not an exploit you could have just gotten by accident or found in game. This is one you had to have had an outside tool to participate in, unlike some of the exploits in the past where you could have just done it by being a bit sneaky.
Right.
If it's using network interruptions, the literally stopping or at least breaking the TCP/IP connection between you and the server, there are ways you can just pull the cable out, but
So
there's
don't
also
worry
tools that
about
will do that.
accidentally have doing it.
Yeah. You would have had to have gone to amazing lengths to make this happen accidentally. So it would have been a terrible set of circumstances. Probably possible, but unlikely.
Yanking their Ethernet card.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's low tech if you're pulling the wires out of the wall. That reminds
It's probably
me of
only
the
a very
old,
brief interruption to make it happen too. But
Yeah.
I
It's like the
was
old Captain
personally-
Crunch, the famous hacker using a toy from a Captain Crunch cereal box to emulate the sounds for the phone modem.
I'm personally really impressed with how fast they handled it. I mean, there was on Reddit, I think about 2 days before this message, there was people asking, is there an exploit? Because all my million credit stuff just got bought and I'm a kabillionaire now. What's going on here? And I think a day later, Sator Miner said, yes, from reports that I've heard around the net, there is an exploit going on. And then next day, it was not only addressed on the forums, we got a short explanation of what was actually going on and even how they found out it was happening. And as far as I can tell, it's dealt with / being dealt with. That's really cool. In the past, some exploits, the more in-game type, took weeks to deal with. They weren't as severe as this one. This one had the ability to decimate an entire server's economy in a day or two, but
Wow.
undoing the damage is going to be painful. Whether they can successfully suck all those credits back out, whether
There's
they can
two
identify all the
different-
occurrences.
there's two different problems with this specific exploit. Obviously, a huge amount of credits entered the economy that shouldn't be here, but the good news is, for the most part, it seems like from the message they posted that they can take care of that, track that, and, use the minus on the calculator on people's accounts and get rid of those credits.
Sure.
But there's also a bigger problem, and that's the exiting of a lot of rare items from the economy. So the exploiters had a bunch of money. They went and bought a bunch of fun stuff, some Acklys, some Banthas, some Nexus, everything else from the cartel market that would normally go for maybe 5 million credits on the GTN, and you could save up for it and you could eventually get them. But now there's none left to be sold, and there's none
Right.
left to be bought. So the very few that people happen to have maybe kept in their banks or gotten from a chance cube, they'll be worth 20 million credits now, and it'll be really difficult especially for newer players, to ever have any kind of chance of getting these items. And I'm very curious to see how this affects the economy and if BioWare will set up anything to help kind of replenish it, because obviously rare things should be rare and there should be stuff to strive for in the game, but there
True.
really shouldn't be a point where you see something cool and say, I'm literally never going to have this in my entire life because it costs 50 million credits. That's a bit obscene, especially if they're cosmetic items.
I do wonder what happens to the people who were selling those items and received the ill-gotten gains. Will they
That's
have
what
the
we're
credits
finding out.
taken out of their account, and that means they've lost the item and they'll have lost the credits? So
I heard
what
a
happens
really
then?
good suggestion that someone posted on Reddit. They said they should have the item returned to them, from the exploiter's account, and they should have
Ideally.
the credits they earned minus.
Yes.
It'll still obviously be a bit of a huge mess. What if they spent those credits already? La. But it would help at least replenish the item economy some.
I agree, but I don't know if they've got the logs to do
I don't know. That seems a huge mess, especially after. I know if I got 20 million credits, I'd be going on a spending spree for what little is left on the GTN.
Wow. Anyway, so it's a mess. It's a shame this happened at all. That sounds like a really nasty bug. The way to avoid that kind of race condition is to make sure all the checks, everything is always done server side. You treat, and we know they do this because they've talked about it. You treat your client effectively as hostile, because as soon as it leaves your server, who knows what's happening in between the client? They could be messing with the network traffic.
Right.
The client itself could be, anyway. So, and that, for the most part, they do. But in this particular case, there was this particular opportunity for things to go wrong. Horribly wrong. Oh well, lesson learned, hopefully. And thanks, of course, to Swodel Miner for detecting this and reporting it to BioWare. Alright, next, let's talk about what's happening on May the 3rd. Chapter 13 is incoming for those of you who are subscribed or will be subscribed on May the 1st. For everyone else, it will be May the 5th. Yeah, anyway. And the new chapter, of course, is Profit and Plunder, chapter 13. Now, they talked about it in the live stream, which is when they introduced it. What I forgot to mention, I believe, is at the end of the live stream, they did play the trailer. And that trailer is now published on YouTube. And they've done something different with this trailer. In a few of the scenes, if you look at the characters, the actual character models that are being shown, they kind of really look high definition and the background is kind of faded out. So it looks like they've either rendered it differently or they've done some sort of new post-production on the video quality. So it makes the characters kind of pop against the background in only some of the scenes, not all of them. So that's kind of interesting.
Well, there is that setting within your own game client settings. Have you ever played with that one?
Oh yeah, that makes your character pop.
It makes the foreground be in, or wherever it wants the game says the focus will be, that'll be in focus and everything else will be out of focus.
I haven't played with that. That would be really weird because it looked really weird in the video. But
I remember
you can
playing
try
with
it.
it when it
it's fun.
came. Sorry, I remember playing with it when it came out, but I didn't find it made like a huge difference. It didn't like totally blur out the background or anything like that.
Well, throughout the video, some of the scenes were like that and some weren't. So maybe they were just tuning the particular settings for particular scenes where there were a bit of character action.
Yeah,
interesting.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun. I find that it does it makes it a little more cinematic because it feels like a movie because you're seeing things where it'll even occasionally switch from one character to another without actually changing the frame in any way. So you'll actually get a focus change within the scene, which feels very cinematic. And then the only downside is it's not quite as good for screenshotting, in my opinion, because I like to have everything in focus.
When you've got awkward, blurry Arkin in the front.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, in addition, we do have a press release. This seems to be a new thing they're doing. They certainly did it for Chapter 12, and they have done it for Chapter 13. Next Knights of the Fallen Empire chapter coming May the 5th, which is when it releases for everyone. Get a first look at the teaser trailer, which we were just talking about. And as they talked about during the live stream, it is a heist story with two very popular companions. It's all over the place. It's Vet and Galt. So, yeah. Yeah, I know Chill loves heist stories. I really can't stand them, but I'm sure I'll deal when I play it when it comes out.
Well, you like Vet, right?
Oh, Vet's... Well, who doesn't like Vet?
Well, there you go.
At least among male players. She's fantastic.
Chirp, chirp, chirp.
Indeed. Now, of course, we are also getting the new multi-level, which means the 10 rounds, Eternal Championship Challenge that requires increasingly more courage and skill as you progress, meaning it gets harder.
Right.
So, as you know, first 5 rounds are the easy ones, and as you progress beyond that, it gets harder and harder. So, yes, I've talked forever how much I'm looking forward to this. I did play on the PTS, pretty much exactly what I was hoping for. Yeah, and hopefully they go further with the Eternal Championship. This is like the first stage, and then it will evolve over time, perhaps with some additional
cool.
variability or additional levels of difficulty, maybe? Like tune the whole thing up, having an epic version of it or something like that. Who knows?
And when
Who
this
knows?
does come out, obviously if you're a veteran player and you've got your 224 rating gear, it's going to be very easy for you. And I saw a really good suggestion to play it in, say, 180 or 188 gear rating, so you can
Yes.
actually do it at the level it was really meant to be done at, which is for basically a beginning player who's just finished Chapter 9.
Remember, is meant to bridge you from the story content to the group content. So if you're already in fully, as Sweaterista said, fully decked out in Nightmare 224 gear, then it's probably not for you, especially if you've got a rank 50 companion, which will make it even that much easier. Rank 50, yeah, so as you said, play with, like with my characters, since I'm not raiding on them at the moment. They're not really decked out in particularly good gear, so it was certainly relatively challenging. It's actually fun in that way, because if it's too easy, it's boring and done. So, yeah, so my Lana was only ranked 22-ish. So, yeah, and that was fun. I enjoyed that. It was enough of it. I didn't just blow through all the mechanics, so you did actually have to respect the mechanics and play properly.
Oh,
So,
good.
yeah. Now, also in Game Update 4.4, coming May 3rd, there's apparently a few bugs with the new Rishi Arena, which must make ranked that much more fun. Sometimes you leap to someone or pull them and they just insta-die, or you insta-die. People can simply stay at the spawn spot and wait till the round is over, and the acid, that fills the room if you go on too long, the acid won't kill them. So that's just terrible. Anyway, that was all going to be fixed in Game Update 4.4.
Yeah, that makes sense, because in the other arenas, if you don't leave the spawn spot, it'll actually just boot you right out of the arena. You'll just go right back to the fleet or wherever.
Excellent. Yeah, so that's unfortunate.
It's just something they just forgot to turn on or whatever, or add. It's all good.
Yeah, yep. Now, we do have another hint of what's coming in the chapter 13. There's a new planet called Vanden. We did get a picture posted on Twitter. It's a planet. It's very yellow.
Looks healthy, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of Hutta-ish, maybe?
I
Poisonous
don't know, yeah.
atmosphere?
Looks sulfurous, that's for sure.
Yeah. Very nice ring around it.
Mhm.
Saturn.
I like the ring.
Saturn and Neptune-esque. And of course, let's just mention the May subscriber reward again, that if you're subscribed on the 1st of May, you get your early access. And you also get the HK55 ship droid customization.
I wish all of you who are listening to the audio-only version could see Tio's face right now. It looks about how it sounds.
Yeah. Is anyone particularly looking forward to the ship droid customization?
No, absolutely not.
I don't know.
If you like
I mean, if you want
Bumblebee, I guess.
yeah, if you want to set up the whole thing so that you're looking like HK and you use your HK companion, your ship droids is HK, you can go for a theme if you want. But
I saw a really funny post on Reddit today. The person had made a fake title saying, "Next month's subscriber reward, GSF," and I was all, "Oh, cool, GSF reward. That sounds cool. They haven't done that in a while." And it was they photoshopped a picture of one of the ships with HK's face on the front as a ship customization.
I actually do have that in our force feedback. Actually, Micah, our friend Glenn, did send that in, and yes, it's fantastic. Well, as people said in Reddit, they knew it was a joke when they mentioned Galactic Starfighter specific reward. But
They
yeah.
should actually do that.
They should.
Maybe not HK's face on the front of a ship, but just giving a ship customization would be kind of cool, especially to new players who get that and they're like, "Oh, I'm subscribed. I get a cool ship thing. Hey, what ship do I put this on?" Might get them to check out GSF.
yeah, well, maybe. Well, not if it's that, but at least some customization, which is having HK's face on the front of a Starfighter would be just bizarre. Just saying. Just saying. Now, of course, also is the Eternal Championship. which I've banged on about a bit so far. But anyway, there is now a blog about it, released ahead of it. It's actually quite short. A new daily experience, so this is not weekly though the missions are, which give the extra rewards, a daily experience that will pit players against some of the galaxy's most notorious fighters. I wonder if that means you can only do it once per day, because I don't recall that limitation.
Don't know.
That would make sense, because you do get the data crystals from it. So if you could just do it over and over and over and over again, you would just basically farm it. So, yeah, having a daily limitation would make sense. If this is on Zakul, beneath its sparkling exterior, I guess Zakul's exterior is kind of sparkling, you get the Arena Grande, a decadent venue where citizens of the old world indulge their basest desires as spectators of brutal gladiatorial events. And one such event is Mayhem, where you may compete to earn the title of Eternal Champion. So yeah, Zakul they've really played this up very much, the whole decadent, let's get into blood sport because we're otherwise bored, because as we know, droids do all the work, that kind of thing. Interesting idea. Sure. Roman Empire at its height. Yeah,
I liked
anyway.
when they got into that in the Kaleo chapters, when they really
was
start
gonna say.
introducing that. And you see it a bit when you're wandering around Zakul, but they really start pushing it there. And it reminds me of a lot of sci-fi movies, especially Elysium, if you guys haven't seen
Yes.
that one.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, and choosing the dark side options in that chapter were really painful, actually. I did them because my Sork is very, very bad guy. But yeah, the
Is this
actions
another
that
one
you
where
take
choices matter? I gotta go play those now.
Oh, no, of course not.
Oh.
But not long term. But in that, as it played out, that was very uncomfortable, got to say. But anyway, so we have already talked about all of the details. They didn't mention where it is, the Platform 6 Cantina in Zakul, the Fight Master Dominaire, I bet that's not his birth name, the Arena Grande. Just trying to quickly see if there was any new information. Yeah, so we've already gone through the mechanics, how it works, 10 rounds, etc., etc. You can check out at any time. I don't know if you can go back to it. This is something that occurred to me, like if you play through to round 5 from the PTS, you sure as hell couldn't. Like you got through to round 5, you logged out, you log back in, you're outside the instance, and you have to start again if you do want to play through it. So yeah, this is something you can walk away from. If you want to do it, you are committed, and you got to play all the way through if you want to go all the way to round 10. So it's just something to be aware of. But anyway, a couple of weeks away, coming in-game update 4.4. And remember, as they said on Reddit ages ago, this is not for subscribers only. This is open to everyone.
Yeah.
So as long as you were subscribed at some point after Knights of Fallen Empire came out, you need to be able to play like the first chapter at least. And
Actually, you have to have completed Chapter 9.
oh,
they
there you
said.
go.
So you will have to be at the Alliance level, and then you can actually do the Eternal Championship, is what
But
they
if
said.
you're like preferred right now, it's okay. It's cool.
Yes.
You can go do it.
Absolutely.
Cool. Will you also have to have done Find a Findsman?
I believe so. Whether
Makes
you
sense.
need the Baldar, because this is how you get Baldar alert to actually get into the Eternal Championship in the first place, that part wasn't exactly clear, because in the PTS you could just go straight to it,
Right.
but perhaps.
I'm gonna guess no, but I mean it makes more sense to finish the Find a Findsman quest so you can start
Yep.
working on Bodar.
You may as well.
Yeah.
Now, something completely unexpected that was just announced just a few hours ago, actually. It's a new feature they are introducing called Weapon Tuning.
Very
Weapon
pretty.
tuning. It's an exciting new way to customize your weaponry, creating a brilliant visual flair on the weapon itself. So this, as we know, all of the weapons that we have, at least the more expensive ones, particularly the ones on the Kato market, have got fancy effects. Now, what they're going to do is add a tuning slot, which is another modification slot, to some weapons. Doesn't sound like all of them, so you do have to have a weapon with a tuning slot.
Yes.
And when you plug in a weapon tuning, which will be a mod that you can plug in, it will then give that weapon a particular effect. So at least at first, the weapon tunings will only be available from Cartel Market packs. The first weapon tuning is called Lightning, and will be
Yes.
available in the pack that comes with Chapter 13, which is coming out on May 3rd, and in the Plunderer pack. Yeah. Lightning. And the picture given, and there's various animations in the post, which I'll link to, of course. It's a very... How would you describe it, Chill?
Pretty.
It is
Well,
literally
it comes from the tip of the barrel if it's a gun, so it's a little different from... although when it's a lightsaber, it is coming from the hilt, so I don't know. Yeah, it definitely looks like something shorting out inside it, which is maybe not ideal for, if it was a real gun, but in the game it looks really pretty.
It does, and unlike dyes, it seems the items are not consumed.
Mm-hmm.
And Place just mentioned the tuning items are not added to your collections, so you equip them the same way you equip any other mod. And they have actually got a picture showing a lightsaber. So previously you had the 4 mod slots with the color crystal and the hilt mod and enhancement, and now they've got that extra slot for tuning. Yeah, you just drag it in, but you can drag it out again, obviously for a small fee, just like with any other mods when you pull them out. And placing one into a weapon will bind it to your character. That's pretty standard, and weapon tunings are not part of the collections interface, as Police just reminded us, so you cannot add them to your collections. You will have to get a one on any character that wants it.
Yeah, and
A bit unfortunate.
it seems like this little flare lightning thing is color matched to the color crystal. At least on 3 of the 4, it's definitely the same color as the lightsaber blade or the glow in the gun, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
The only one I can't tell is on the big trooper assault weapon one, but I don't think anything from the color crystal is actually showing in that one, so it may have matched that one as well.
What's especially interesting about this new type of item is that it's a lot more work for them, I guess. They have to make a different version of it for every single type of weapon. For example, they have to line it up and make it look good for the big giant trooper commando gun, and they have to make it work for a lightsaber, they have to make it work for a double-sided lightsaber, so on and so forth. I'm very curious about how it's going to work out for weapons that don't conform to the normal standards. For example, there's some blaster pistols, that the blaster rifles, the longer ones, but you can get some really tiny short carbine versions that are actually almost the size of a pistol. It's like, where's my lightning going to be? How well was this done? What's it going to look like?
Probably
Presumably
why
they limited the choice of which ones are tuning slots, the ones they've actually worked on. And they probably will expand that over time as well.
That's true.
They might.
But you're right, it's extra work, no doubt. But the effect is very cool, and who knows, but they can have all kinds of potential new ones in the future.
What do you guys think about the idea that it's non-collections? It's literally the only Cartel Market item ever released that has not been in collections. And collections, basically, for anyone not aware, you can pay a small cartel fee and then get unlimited copies of that item that you can use on any of your characters. Like, you can't sell them, but you can use them.
It's effectively a consumable, kind of,
Yeah.
except it's not consumed when you put it in. No mods, enhancements, etc. have never been on the Cartel Market before. It's an interesting choice because it's like a subcomponent of something else.
Oh, I lied.
Dyes aren't in your collection.
That's true.
So that would be the closest analog to that.
Yeah.
Put dyes in collections. Woo!
I was just thinking, along with this change, we've also made dyes able to be removed from your... but they're not going to do that.
I would love if they
Yeah,
put
I
dyes
know.
in collections, because I like picking color schemes for my characters, and I just have to keep rebuying the dyes every time I make
Or make them
a new outfit.
reusable, so you can actually pull them out. Even if not in collections. But yeah, that would make it even better. Would actually remove the need to have them removable.
I'm curious how expensive this is going to be when it comes out, because if it's not too rare, it's going to be okay. If it's abundant in the packs, people are going to be like, woohoo, put it on everything. But if it's rare, it's going to be very, very expensive.
Well, we know it'll already be silver or gold rareness.
And depending on-
because we don't bronze anymore.
And depending on how difficult to get the actual weapons are.
Oh,
Ah,
yeah.
that's true too.
If you
And will
can't put
they-
it on all the best ones and the popular ones, then
Will they
don't
retrofit it to
want it.
existing weapons, or would
I
this
don't
only
know.
be new weapons going forward?
I assumed when they put things like PvE and PvE, they probably put it on like all the current tier of weapons and stuff like that.
Yeah, from what they're saying, they are implying that weapons that have a tuning slot come from many different sources, including the cartel market, PvP, operations, rep, vendors, flashpoints, heroic missions, crafting recipes. That's pretty much all of them. Be sure to check if your weapon has a tuning slot, implying that yes, they will be retrofitting them.
At least for
Cool.
some, yeah.
So just check your weapon. You may already have a tuning slot come Game Update 4.4. Alright, and let's just close with how they finished the blog. Arkhan's rule has brought the galaxy to its knees, but new opportunities to wrest the Galactic Republic and the Sith Empire back from his grasp are appearing every day. Claim your weapon tuning and lead your alliance against the forces of the Eternal Throne.
That part was so stupid. Because this
Really?
is basically people who are buying this like to play Space Barbie. They're not using it to go against Arkan.
Yes.
Like, I
yes,
love the
yeah.
story and the epicness of it, but this is Malibu Barbie, Space Barbie. This is not part
So-
of that.
Agreed. Somehow a weapon tuning will help unseat Arkan. So, yes. Do it. Do it now. Buy the packs, which is the only place to get them. At least for now. Alright, last in our SWOTOR news. Again, this came kind of out of nowhere. BioWare speaks! This was a post on the official forums. The title was an open letter to our players. It was authored by producer Ben Irving, who has appeared on all of the live streams thus far with Eric Musco and last time with Charles Boyd. So let's actually go through this step by step. So in summary, don't expect anything groundbreaking here because I read through this, and while it appeared to give some substance to the hope that I have expressed in previous shows about the direction the game is going and the fact that all is well and good things are coming, they gave us pretty much no information. They just said everything's great. But anyway, let's go through it. First off, he wants to apologise for the issues that we've experienced in the last couple of months. The monthly chapter release schedule is new, and that monthly cadence really is new. Even the previous releases were like 9, 8, 7 weeks, whatever. But yeah, but every 4 weeks we're getting a new game update. So anyway, he says it's new. It's come with some unexpected bugs, caused problems for some of you, and he wants to say he's sorry. At our core, the SWOTOR team are all gamers just like you. We empathise with the excitement of wanting to play a great game only to be blocked by a problem. We spend all of our energy striving to make SWOTOR the best game possible, and when bugs and other issues get in the way of your player experience, we take it to heart. They're committed to doing better, and I think with Chapter 12, Visions in the Dark, we are serious about listening to your concerns and making meaningful changes to address them. A high-quality chapter, released on time, and they all have all been on time so far, that we hope has met the expectations of our players. And sounds like they have pretty much succeeded. There was a lot of sort of little mechanical stuff in Chapter 12. If you play through it, you know, you do all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff in there. It all seemed to work pretty flawlessly. Certainly when I did it was just great. Now, we have heard about that issue with the Deshade chapter, where you recruit him as a companion. But, again, that's a typical issue with SWOTOR, where if you leave the instance, things go squirrely. And I suspect that if you were playing through Chapter 12 and you didn't just do it in one sitting, it only takes an hour. But if you didn't do it in just one sitting, I suspect things would be bad if you came back to it. I don't know that for sure. But, yeah. Anything in an instance, as we talked about earlier. Anyway,
Right.
he keeps going. On to the future, which is what we really care about. Is SWOTOR going to receive ongoing support? The answer is absolutely yes. Now, various people have in the community claimed that SWOTOR is in maintenance mode and there will never be new operations. People have been saying stuff like that. Of course, they were saying there would never be a new war zone, but obviously that's not true because we've got Odessa Proving Ground and a new Rishi Arena. So, what he says, it's worth starting with the things we've already announced. So, this is basically just a recap of everything they've done recently. Launch of Kotfi itself with 9 incredible story-driven chapters. That's story-driven chapters. 14 companion recruitment missions, the Star Fortress, 5 new player levels, 60 to 65, 30 flashpoints upgraded to be challenging again, 30, absolutely true. So, yep, they've all been uplifted to the level cap, which is absolutely excellent. 50 operation bosses upgraded to be challenging again. Yep, played them to death, doesn't matter, you can do them all again. Too many heroic quests to count. Got to say that was one of the better features, where all of those heroics and the way to get to them from the terminal, being able to teleport directly there and get them done. They're all of them on all the planets, all made soloable for anyone with even reasonably decent gear and a reasonable companion. Fantastic. Really, really good. A revamp of the 1 to 60 leveling experience. Boo, I say to that. I would like a way to switch it off. Just saying.
Wait, which parts don't you like?
The fact that you only have to do, 6 times XP. I mean, 12 times XP was bad enough, but 6 times XP where you have to do the class story and the planetary arcs, and that's it. It is too quick. I know I'm probably the only person in the galaxy who feels that way, but I would rather an MMO to actually have a decent leveling experience, and that has effectively been taken away. You just blow through it and you're done. But that's just me. Everyone else thinks it's fantastic, so that's great. And a huge number of quality of life improvements. And yes, that's true. We've talked about them over time. The guild stuff being one of the most recent changes, just great. So yeah, they've done some good stuff. More recently, we've kicked off our monthly chapter cadence in our 3rd installment, which is chapter 12, which we've already played through and has just been released. Take us through most of the year, ending with chapter 16, our story finale for Knights of the Fallen Empire. Oh, and remember, if you've been subbed since whenever it was, and continue to be subbed all the way through, you'll get access to that chapter where you play as HK55. So, I'd sort of forgotten that, so I just tweeted about it recently. Just a reminder, if you were subbed, you're still eligible if you don't let your sub drop. So, yeah, that'll be something interesting for those of us who have been subbed for all that time.
Yep.
It's easy to forget about, but anyway, it is coming. In addition to all the monthly chapters, we have built great supporting content, recruitment missions for those companions, the new Warzone, Desert Proving Grounds, Rishi, Cove Arena, the Eternal Championship, and new levels of crafting. That's actually more content following a major expansion than we have ever released, and the team is really excited for all of you to play it. So, that's true. It's arguable whether all of that stuff should have been in the expansion itself, particularly the crafting levels. But fair enough. The harder part to address, this has been Irving continuing, because you have to take my word for it, are all the features and content we are working on that we haven't yet announced. If you follow Charles Boyd or Paul Marino on social media, you may have seen some hints of this, and we did cover both of these on the show. They've been recording new voiceover in the studio with all of our favourite actors, voice actors, and Paul Marino talked about the motion capture stuff at the studio, where they are creating new animations for Star Wars: The Old Republic. New animations. Now that's interesting. What does that mean? Does that mean new abilities coming in the expansion, which I still predict is coming at the end of the year? But anyway, what Ben actually says was, the two most exciting things to share are that our writers are deep into the plot summaries for the next season's worth of chapters, and we have started the early design phase for new non-chapter content. These may or may not be MMO bits. I'm hoping they're MMO bits.
Right.
You all know the drill here. I can't talk about any of the specifics, bracket. But what I can say is that we have some really cool stuff to talk about later this year, and the whole SWTOR team can't wait to announce it soon. TM. Yeah, okay. So, what do we think of that?
I think it was nice at least to get some very solid confirmation that yes, the game is still being supported, and yes, we have at least the next season of chapters that will be coming out, because there's always that kind of worry because they don't release official numbers and stuff like that. Is the game dying? Or is it going to be shut down tomorrow? Well, the answer is a pretty good no, according to this at least. And he's Ben Irving, the producer for Star Wars: The Old Republic, so I'm pretty
He would
sure it's
know.
okay to take his word. But,
Right.
I mean, even that, coming from BioWare, doesn't mean a ton, because they said the same thing about, I believe it's called Shadow Realms, that they were working on a while
Yep.
ago. They were saying, it's going good, great, guys! And then all of a sudden, the whole project was
Not
scrapped.
so much.
So,
Yes.
I don't know about that. It was
Can we
nice... Sorry.
I was just going to say, can we read through the rest, or did you have another point to raise, Sweatrista?
Oh, no, sorry.
So, just to finish off what Ben Irving was saying, Godfrey was the most successful expansion they've ever produced, by whatever metric you want to apply. By whatever metric you want to apply, they haven't told us what that is. It received critical acclaim from press and fan sites, which is true, because it really is a good story in that respect. And he goes on, it has been successful because all of you have supported us through the expansion launch and the release of the monthly chapters. In other words, a lot of us have remained subscribed. In the eyes of all our partners, SWTOR is a huge success. BioWare supports this game. EA supports this game. Lucasfilm supports this game. Disney supports this game. Everyone supports this game. The Force supports this game. In fact, for a game that has... He didn't say that part. In fact, for a game that has been live for almost 5 years, we are receiving an incredible amount of support from all our partners. It's both amazing and humbling. So, again, there has been suspicion that EA, etc., are just leaving them to wither on the vine, so to speak. But yes, not so much. According to Ben, at least, all is well. And finally, if there's anything I would like people reading this to take away, it's this. SWTOR is absolutely being supported into the future. We have a lot of content coming over the next few months, and even more exciting things to talk about later this year. All of us here at BioWare appreciate your ongoing support, and we are committed to providing the best experience possible. So, it's because of you, our players, that this game continues to thrive. Thank you for playing SWTOR. Okay, sorry, continue. SWTOR?
Sorry about that. But yeah,
No, it's fine.
I'm happy to hear that we did get that confirmation. But that's, I guess, the most that we really got out of it. The other thing I did kind of like was that they went over all the stuff they did do. And when you look at it all together, it is quite a bit in the last, when was December? About 4 or 5 months ago? It's a good chunk of content, I guess, or at least changes in the very least. It's nice to see them all together. But other than that, the letter didn't really say a lot. Just the usual... BioWare SWTOR issues of we can't tell you anything, and therefore you know nothing and you can't really take anything out of it.
That's what disturbed me. It was all very hopeful and promise of support. Everything's great, but we can't tell you anything of substance about the future. Because that would mess up their marketing plans, probably. But that is classic BioWare. They
Yes.
always do this. So
I
this is not
think
like
it's-
anything new.
It's not only the marketing, it's also the expectations of everyone. If they say, yeah, we're so excited, we started a new operation, you're going to have a new operation by the end of the year, woohoo! And then all of a sudden something comes up and they can't actually complete it. I don't know, there's a bunch of layoffs or a huge technical issue, or marketing suddenly changed their mind and they need to go back on focusing for the stories on some reason. Everyone has to be shifted over on the team. Then all of a sudden there's a huge backlash because we were promised an operation or whatever else the content is.
Yeah.
But flip side of that, we don't get to know about anything. We have nothing to look forward to, and we don't have a lot of trust, I guess, about what's going on.
It's true. All right. Jill, any final thoughts?
Yeah, he's certainly very upbeat about it. Has sort of the flavor of like a State of the Union speech to me. You know, where it's kind of like, you know, the state of our union is strong, you know, and he's definitely doing what he's supposed to be doing, you know, which is sort of, you know, being upbeat and positive and all that good stuff. I mean, it certainly sounds good, but yeah, there's not, you know, until they let us know what they're actually working on, there's not much we can hang our hat on beyond that. So I'm excited that he's excited. I mean, you at least want... You definitely want to see the people who are, you know, closely involved with the game actually, you know, being excited about it. So that's, you know, that's always something that I'm happy to see. Other than that, it's just you know, it's There's not a whole lot of there, but that's okay.
Agreed. And I feel a little more hopeful than I did previously. I mean, I'm just optimistic by nature because I'm damn. But this gives some hope, but again, without any real substance. It's like, trust us, everything's great.
It makes me curious if maybe, I'm not sure, have we seen any messages from Ben Irving recently? I think this is the first one in a while, right? Maybe he'll become more communicative. That'd be pretty cool. If this is
he actually said
first
this
of
is his
many.
first post on the forum, so
Yeah.
he's never communicated in this forum.
Hey,
Right.
Mr. Ben Irving, keep posted, okay? Thanks.
And of course, him being Australian is just awesome. So
If he doesn't post, you can just walk over to his house. Everything's close in Australia, right? Yeah.
well, he hasn't lived here for a while. He's actually betrayed us and travelled to the US. But
I'll
he'll
walk
come
over.
home one
I'll
day.
walk over. Me and Chill will.
All right, that's it for Star Wars: The Old Republic news. Let's talk community briefly. We do have a couple of iTunes reviews, so thank you all for doing that. Oh, we are also listed on Google Play. I should mention in passing.
Nice.
Google Play is now doing podcasts under Google Play Music somehow. So if you want to try and sub to us for that, I'll include that somewhere on our main page. So yeah, cool. But of course iTunes, because all of you out there with those Apple devices, it is kind of easy. Anyway,
Yep.
the two reviews. Firstly, one from Jonathan ST from the USA. He says, one of the best. This is a great podcast to listen to if you want to keep up with the community news and in general find good advice for SWOTOR. Thank you, mate. And from Udonza, Guildmaster of Sith Praxium. He's also in the US, and Sith Praxium is on Begarin Colony server. Udonza says, OotiniCast is one of the best podcasts on regarding SWOTOR. He's listened to many podcasts about the game, and these guys are the best. Thanks for everything you guys do for the SWOTOR community. So thank you. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, thanks.
And that's
All
the
right.
news.
Excellent. That'll bring us to the Academy. And this week, Swotarista will talk to us about how to level a character quickly.
There may come a time when you want to level a new character fast, either to get to max level quickly so you can participate in endgame activities, or to simply see the main class story with as little distraction as possible. If this is your first time playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, I highly recommend taking your time and not to rush. There's a lot to do and see before you hit max level, and there's a lot of cool side quests that fill in the lore and story of SWTOR. A lot of these tips also require credits, which are a lot easier to earn on a character that's already max level. With that said, here's how to level a new character quickly in SWTOR. If you want the quickest leveling experience, subscribe. Free-to-play and preferred players receive a reduced experience for every quest they complete. You can also use an XP boost. You can buy either a minor or major experience boost from the GTN that temporarily increases all your experience gained by 25%. Buy yourself a mount and improve speeder piloting from the GTN, and mail it to your new character. That way you can use your speeder at level 1. If you've got a large amount of credits, you can buy either a Darth Malgus Hollow statue or a Satil Shan Hollow statue from the GTN. They're items that you can use as a personal trainer so you can train your skills as you go instead of having to find a trainer every time you level up. You can join a guild. Just joining a guild gets you a 5% XP boost, and joining a larger one will get you a 10% XP boost. Try to do just your class story as often as possible. If you find you're having difficulty defeating enemies because you are a lower level than them, do the Planetary Arc quest. You can usually pick it up near where you land on a planet, and it has a purple triangle symbol just like your class quest. Don't forget to also upgrade your armor on the fleet in the supply section every once in a while. You can also get yourself a vendor to quickly sell junk to. You can buy a deployable field repair droid in your character perks, located in your legacy panel. That way when your inventory fills up, you can empty it quickly and you don't have to send any companions away, especially if you're just starting and you only have one. Make sure to also have access to either a stronghold or guild flagship that has a bank in it. That way, when you collect items while leveling that you want to keep, not trash, like cool armor, crafting materials, or companion gifts, you can easily travel to your stronghold, dump them in the bank, and then exit the area to return where you were leveling. It puts you right back where you were as long as you don't log out in the meantime. You can buy the Improved Experience character perks. If you're trying to only do the story, buy all the levels of the class mission perk. You could also pick up the exploration one if you have extra credits. You can also buy the Legacy of Travel unlocked from the other tab on your Legacy panel. If you buy all three, your quick travel time will be reduced to 0. I highly recommend this one, as it will save you a lot of time while questing. You can just pop around with your quick travel whenever you want. Another unlock you can buy is the Personal Starship Priority Transport unlock in your character perks. It will allow you to immediately travel back to your ship when you've completed a planet. A cheap alternative would be to travel to your stronghold and then exit to your starship. Don't forget, if your goal is simply to be max level, you can purchase a level 60 character token that costs about 2,000 cartel coins on the cartel market, or you can buy them on the GTN from another player. Then all you have to do is level the last 5 levels by either working on Knights of the Fallen Empire or doing heroics. With all these tips combined, you can become a speed leveling champion. One of the nicest things about using these perks is that you can see the main storyline almost uninterrupted. This is especially nice if you've already seen all the side quests and planets and just want to focus on your new class story.
Very nice. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would also... Did you mention Rocket Boost? Because that's definitely... I didn't
Oh
hear
man,
it.
that needs to get in there. Yeah, another awesome perk that I will put in the final version later is you gotta get those rocket boots. They're a
Yeah. The
legacy
Rocket Boost
unlock.
is awesome. It's usable indoors. It can be used while you're stealthed if you have a stealth character. And
So
it
nice.
really speeds things up for leveling as well.
Just everyone in general should get this, not just speed levelers.
Yeah, but it's definitely a speed leveling boost as well. All right, awesome. Okay, so that'll bring us to the force feedback, where we read out your tweets and emails. And Chinook wrote, I don't know what Bioware did, but my operative, who couldn't stealth, now can. Thank you, Swotor.
I wonder if that was fixed with the game with the Tuesday server-side maintenance. I did hear rumblings about this. Some ops couldn't actually stealth in some, but whatever it was is now fixed. So that's good. Hopefully, it was just a very specific issue and not affecting a lot of people.
Yeah, it certainly didn't affect my operative when I was playing with him, but that was a couple weeks ago. So, all right. Char L wrote, I seem to recall Tio making a comment on a recent episode to the fact that BioWare had acknowledged they were running, how shall I say it, a less than ideally staffed development team. I thought BioWare didn't comment on their studio staffing levels, so it surprised me. Did this info come out during one of the community cantinas last year or from somewhere else? Thank you for the high quality production that the OotiniCast puts out every week.
Now, I can't remember exactly what I said, if I did phrase it exactly like that. Now, as far as Star Wars The Old Republic's staffing goes, yes, they do not comment directly. So they have said nothing about the current state. Though
They have
what we do know...
specifically said they can't talk about their staff. They won't, like
Yeah.
security reasons, privacy
Of course.
reasons, etc.
But we do know that there was originally a very large team which developed the game, and there were a couple of rounds of layoffs, and the team was made a lot smaller to what it effectively is now. As far as we know, they have never done any layoffs beyond that, but the impression given was, at the time, and it's just hints given over time, really, that the team is a certain size. It hasn't really been expanded substantially. It's roughly the same. People have left, people have joined, but
Right.
we can't say for sure. So there is no hint that they have suddenly expanded the team greatly, though they could have, and they have simply just kept it hidden from us. But shall we say the rate that they are producing content has appeared to be roughly constant over time? They can only develop a Warzone and an operation, but you can't do both at once.
We have seen some hints of their staffing here and there. For example, we mentioned Shadow Realms a little earlier, another IP they were working on that got cancelled, and we know that for a fact the community team, at the very least, was being shared with that game.
True.
And they were obviously able to work exclusively on SOTOR once that happened. And so there's a good chance that with the new IP BioWare is developing, they might be lending a hand here and there on that. And one of the biggest things, I guess, that struck me that makes me think they're not trying to grow their team greatly is that A while ago, we had quite a few community team members. At one point, we even had 3. We had Eric Musco, who's been a staple for quite a long time in the game, and we also had Courtney Woods, who last little while ago she got promoted to become a writer, and we also had Pocket for a little while as a community. I'm not sure community manager, but community member, and we're down to Mr. Musco and another community manager that they hired, but I forget his name, and he works more in the analytics side, and we don't hear from him at all.
Nick Evola.
Yeah, there you go, Nick. And we never really got anyone else to help Mr. Musco out that I know of.
Yeah. And on the development team side, we do get that impression. We did hear that the people from Shadow Realms seem to have been repurposed for another BioWare property. Whether that was SWTOR or other games, it was unclear. I think they did hint it was SWTOR, but we also know a lot of the people who were on the Shadow Realms team are no longer with BioWare, so, or are working on Mass Effect, Andromeda, etc. So it's just unclear. So can't say anything for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Next one is from Sturka. Sturka writes, I am currently based in Qatar for work and have SWTOR installed on my laptop. My ping to the Red Eclipse is about 160. I was wondering if you could recommend a good VPN for SWTOR to help get my ping down. I tried WTF, which brought it down to about 130, but before I spend actual money on one, do you know any others that are highly recommended?
Now, a couple apparently that are well known are smoothping.com. There's also battleping.com, both of which support Star Wars The Old Republic. Just in terms of what a VPN is, virtual private server, the way these work is that you connect to a local service somewhere in your own country, and they have a VPN, which one thing a VPN can be used for is to hide where you're coming from, so to the rest of the world it looks like your connection to like a website or whatever emerges from wherever you choose. So it could look like, if I'm in Australia, I'm actually accessing the internet from the US, say. But another advantage is they may have dedicated pipes, so to speak, high-speed, guaranteed quality of service connections between your country and, for example, this place where your game server is, meaning that rather than just going over the open internet, you're going via their service, and you would, in theory, get a better ping because your IP packets are taking a shorter route without having to go through additional routers. Now, those services could bring it down. I actually played with battleping.com last night just to give it a try. My ping was pretty much unaffected from Australia to the west coast of the US. So these days, it's unclear to me whether these services really do give value. As you said, he actually brought his down from 160 to 130 using WTF, which is a paid service. I would try SmoothPing or BattlePing or any of those. If you just Google, you will find some. Personally, I use IPVanish, but not for the purpose of getting a lower ping as a VPN solution, but none of these are free, or at least free and reliable. So yeah, I would actually fork out the cash if you're getting that much reduced latency. But remember, I would really like 160 myself, because here from Australia it's like at least 190 or 200. So yeah.
But not getting any better luck. I guess that makes sense, because it's not like you've got a whole lot of servers between Australia and the US. It's just a lot of distance.
It's routers. Every single hop is what slows you down, and there's a surprising number of hops between where I'm sitting here and the West Coast servers in the Force Rotor. So everyone slows it down. No, the physical distance, speed of light, it really is that fast, but it's all the intermediate steps.
Right. Is it in fact close to the speed of light, though? I thought that there was they have to over the course of long runs like that, they have to like re-up the signal and stuff like that.
Using repeaters, well, yes. Actually, you can only go so far before the light attenuates, even over fiber optic. But those are really quick because it's all done in very clever ways. But yeah, It does tend to be routers which actually have to make a decision. Even routers are really, really, really good, which is why it's only 100 or 200 milliseconds as opposed to however much it could be if they weren't so fast.
Very nice.
Yes, we're a bunch of nerds, as Sweaterist has said.
Thought I would get away with my snarky comments if I put them in the chat room.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's see, and I didn't notice any other questions, did you?
No, that was just a bit of the usual back and forth.
Yep.
Not really worth talking about, because nothing new.
All right, then.
Hey, Dekion, I'm going to make you a mod for next week, by the way, in the chat room.
All right, then. That's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /c join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. Thank you to the chat room, and thank you to Svotorista.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
And we'll see you next week.
All right, guys, keep recording, please. Everyone, thank you for watching.
Bye.
We will be
Thanks
back
for
next
coming.
week with episode 258. Guests will be Fee and Dekion again.
Oh, good.
We'll talk more community stuff, hopefully, and perhaps a bit more about upcoming stuff, Kogul events, etc. You will find out. Anyway, have a good week, guys. We'll
Thanks for
see
coming,
you
chat
then.
room.
All right. Stopping the broadcast.